The sky burned orange as plasma artillery lit up the night, turning the barren landscape of Outpost Delta 7 into a hellscape of fire and shadow. Corporal Tay clutched his rifle tighter, his 4 blue-scaled arms tensing as another explosion rocked the defensive line. Around him, both human and Centurion soldiers huddled in hastily dug trenches, their faces illuminated by the constant flashes of weapons fire. "Hold position," shouted Lieutenant Kim, a short but commanding human whose armor bore the scars of many battles. "Reinforcements coming in 10 minutes. Take wasn't sure they had 10 minutes. The Vraxian forces had been hammering their position for hours, their insectoid troops swarming forward in waves that seemed endless. He fired another burst from his pulse rifle, watching with satisfaction as 2 enemy soldiers dropped. "They're flanking east," called Soldier Nari, one of the human scouts. "Too many." The communications unit in Take's helmet crackled. "All units fall back to secondary positions. Repeat, all units fall back. Position overrun." Lieutenant Kim swore, then signaled the retreat. "Move, move. Back to the ridge." Soldiers began to withdraw in groups, providing covering fire for each other. Take moved backward steadily, his upper arms firing while his lower arms reloaded. The retreat was working until the mortar hit. The explosion caught Take mid-stride. The world spun violently as he was thrown through the air, landing hard on the rocky ground 20 meters back. Pain erupted across his lower left side where shrapnel had torn through his scales and into the soft tissue beneath. "Soldier down," someone shouted, but the voice seemed distant through the ringing in Take's ears. He tried to rise, but his lower left arm wouldn't respond. Dark blue blood pooled beneath him. Through blurry eyes, he watched as the remaining troops continued their retreat. Even his own squad members, Centurions he had trained with for years, didn't stop. Myrn, his battle brother of 7 cycles, looked back once. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Take raised his functioning right arm in the Centurion gesture for aid. But Myrn turned away, following their ancient warrior code: the wounded are already dead. A soldier too injured to retreat was no longer considered alive. The sounds of battle grew closer. Vraxian chittering echoed across the rocks as their forward scouts advanced. Take dragged himself behind a fallen transport vehicle, leaving a trail of blue blood. His combat training told him to end it now. Better a warrior's death than capture by the Vraxians, known for their cruel experiments on prisoners. As darkness began to close in around the edges of his vision, Take prepared for death. He recited the prayer of passing, as all Centurion warriors were taught from youth. A shadow fell across him. Take looked up, expecting to see the mandibles and compound eyes of a Vraxian scout. Instead, a small human figure in medical armor crouched beside him. "Don't move," the human female said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. She wore the Red Cross symbol of human medical personnel, and her quick hands were already opening a field kit. "I'm Medic Hannah." "Go," Take managed to say, his translator struggling with his weakened voice. "Enemy coming." "I know," Hannah replied, injecting something into his upper shoulder that immediately dulled the pain. "But so are our air units. We have 5 minutes." She worked quickly, applying pressure bandages to the worst of his wounds. In the distance, Vraxian troops were moving from crater to crater, searching for survivors. "Why help?" Take asked. Even human soldiers typically left the severely wounded during a full retreat. Hannah didn't look up from her work. "Because you're still alive." Those simple words struck Take deeply. In Centurion culture, once a warrior fell and couldn't continue, they were considered dead already. Their body just hadn't accepted this truth yet. "Can you move if I help you?" Hannah asked, finishing the temporary seal on his worst wound. Before Take could answer, a Vraxian scout spotted them. It raised its weapon, mandibles clicking in excitement at finding prey. Hannah grabbed Take's pulse pistol and fired 3 quick shots. The first 2 missed, but the third caught the insectoid soldier in its thorax, dropping it instantly. "Now we really need to move," she said, helping Take to his feet. "There's a bunker 200 meters southeast. Think you can make it with my help?" "Yes," Take said, finding strength he didn't know he had left. As they staggered away from the battlefield, aerial support finally arrived, human fighters screaming overhead to engage the Vraxian forces. "Human," Take said as they moved painfully toward safety, "I am in your debt." Hannah adjusted her grip to better support his weight. "Save it. We're not safe yet." The bunker smelled of dust and old smoke. Take slumped against the wall as Hannah secured the heavy door behind them. Outside, the sounds of battle continued, but muffled now through thick concrete walls. This forgotten shelter had once been a command post, now abandoned in the chaos of retreat. "Your people left," Take said weakly as Hannah knelt beside him and began unpacking her medical supplies. His blue scales had dulled to a sickly gray around his wounds. "Yours too," she replied without looking up. "Standard protocol when positions are overrun." "Then why?" He paused, struggling to breathe. "Why did you stay behind?" Hannah's hands moved with practiced precision as she cut away damaged armor around his wound. "Because you were still alive. That's reason enough." She frowned as she examined the deep gash in his lower left side. The edges of the wound had turned an unnatural purple, veins of color spreading outward like a spider's web. "They used bioweapons," she muttered. "Toxin-coated shrapnel." Take's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "I know. Designed to kill Centurions specifically." Hannah pulled out a small scanner and passed it over his wound. The device beeped and displayed information in glowing red text. "It's attacking your cellular structure. Human medicine won't work properly on your biology." "Then let me die with honor," Take said calmly. "In my culture, a wounded warrior is already considered dead. My battle brothers were right to leave me." Hannah stared at him for a long moment. "Well, in my culture, we don't give up so easily." She opened a different compartment in her medical kit and began pulling out various tools and vials. "I trained in xenobiology. I can improvise." The bunker rattled as an explosion hit somewhere above ground. Dust filtered down from the ceiling. "The Vraxians will find us," Take warned. "They'll have to get through that door first," Hannah replied, mixing compounds from her kit. "And by then, we'll be gone." She worked methodically, occasionally consulting a small data tablet with information about Centurion physiology. Take watched as she reconfigured medical tools designed for humans, adjusting settings and combining substances. "This will hurt," she warned, holding up a syringe filled with blue liquid. "It's an antitoxin I've modified for your metabolism." Take nodded his consent. When she injected the substance into the wound, pain shot through his body like lightning. He roared, his voice echoing off the concrete walls. I know," Hannah said soothingly. "But it's working. See? The purple veins spreading from the wound had stopped advancing. Slowly, they began to recede." "You have skill," Take admitted through gritted teeth. "But why risk yourself for an alien soldier?" Hannah began cleaning the wound now that the toxin was neutralized. "My grandmother was the first human doctor to work with Centurions, back when our species first made contact. She taught me that healing transcends species." Outside, the sounds of battle grew more distant as the front line moved away. "My clan would not understand," Take said quietly. "They believe a warrior who cannot fight has no value." "No offense to your clan," Hannah replied, beginning to seal the wound with a medical polymer, "but that's a wasteful philosophy. Even warriors need healers." Hours passed as Hannah worked on Take's injuries. The main wound sealed, she moved on to the damaged nerves and muscles in his lower left arm. The bunker grew colder as night fell. "Can you move your fingers now?" she asked. Take concentrated, and slowly, his blue-scaled digits responded. "Yes. You have given me back my arm." "Not me. Your own body is healing. I just helped it along." Hannah checked the bunker's old communications system but found only static. "We're on our own. No way to contact our forces." "What now?" Take asked. Hannah moved to the bunker's small viewport and peered outside. The landscape was eerily quiet, the battle having moved beyond their position. The evacuation point is at Ridge Station, about 28 kilometers northeast. We need to get there within 3 days. 28 kilometers? Take struggled to sit up straighter. With my injuries? I found some military supplies. I can make a support harness to help you walk. Hannah began rummaging through storage lockers. We move at night, hide during day. Vraxian patrols will be everywhere. Take watched her work with newfound respect. This small human showed more courage than many warriors he had known. If we survive this, he said, I owe you a life debt. Hannah looked up from her work, a half-smile on her tired face. Then you better start healing fast, because we leave at nightfall. The 3 moons of Kepler forecast long shadows across the ruined landscape as Hannah and Take emerged from the bunker. The night air was cool and filled with the scent of burnt metal. Hannah had constructed a clever support harness from medical supplies and parts salvaged from abandoned equipment, allowing Take to walk despite his injuries. Stay low, Hannah whispered, scanning the horizon with night vision goggles. Vraxian patrols use heat sensors. Take nodded, his 4 eyes adjusting better to the darkness than his human companions. The makeshift harness supported his damaged left side, distributing weight to his stronger limbs. Even so, each step brought pain. Northeast, Hannah said, pointing toward distant mountains. We follow the dry riverbed. It offers cover. They moved slowly through the night, stopping frequently to let Take rest. His centurion physiology was remarkably resilient. Already the smaller wounds were healing, but the major injury to his side still leaked blue fluid when he pushed himself too hard. Near dawn, they reached the cover of a small forest of twisted alien trees with bark like metal. Hannah found a hollow beneath massive roots where they could hide during daylight. The Vraxians will be most active at dawn, she explained, helping Take settle into their hiding place. They hunt better in the morning light. As predicted, less than an hour later, a Vraxian patrol skittered past their position. The insectoid soldiers moved in perfect formation, their black carapaces gleaming in the early light. Take and Hannah lay motionless, hardly daring to breathe until the danger passed. 7 kilometers covered, Hannah said, checking her positioning device. 21 to go. Take watched as she changed his bandages with expert care. Why did you become a combat medic? He asked. It seems a dangerous choice. Hannah's hands paused briefly. My parents died in the Vraxian attack on New Sol Colony. I was 14. She continued working. A human medic saved my brother and me. I wanted to do the same for others. Your brother is also a soldier? He was. He died 2 years ago. Vraxian ambush on Outpost 7. Take remains silent for a moment. Yet you still save lives. Even alien ones. Especially alien ones, Hannah replied. This war involves 17 species. We need each other to survive. They rested through the hot day, taking turns keeping watch. When darkness fell again, they continued their journey. The second night was harder. Take's fever returned, the toxic residue in his system fighting against Hannah's treatments. Twice they had to hide from Vraxian patrols, squeezing into narrow crevices in the rocky landscape. We need to find water, Hannah said as they paused on a ridge. Your system needs hydration to fight the toxin. In the valley below, they spotted the remains of a small settlement. Lights flickered dimly in one building. Could be survivors, Hannah suggested. Or a trap. Only one way to find out, Take replied, checking his sidearm. They approached cautiously. The settlement had been a mining outpost, now mostly destroyed. The building with lights was a processing facility, its heavy doors sealed. Hannah knocked in a specific pattern, 3 quick, 2 slow, the universal distress code used by coalition forces. After a tense moment, the door cracked open. Human, a voice whispered. Medical Officer Hannah, 7th Division, she replied. I have a wounded Centurion soldier. The door opened wider, revealing an elderly human man with a makeshift bandage around his head. Quick, inside. Vraxians patrol here hourly. Inside, 5 survivors, 3 humans and 2 Pelions, had created a temporary refuge. They shared precious water and basic rations. We were hoping to reach Ridge Station, Hannah explained. The old man, who introduced himself as Engineer Du, shook his head sadly. Ridge Station fell yesterday. Vraxians took it. The news hit like a physical blow. Their destination, their hope for evacuation, was gone. Where now? Take asked, his voice weak from fever. Du unfolded a tattered map. There's a research station here, in the mountains. Coalition forces were using it as a secondary medical facility. 15 kilometers east. During their brief rest, Hannah used the settlement's limited medical supplies to create more antitoxin for take. By midnight, they were moving again, now with updated coordinates and valuable information about enemy positions. As they climbed a steep path into the mountains, Take suddenly stopped, his four eyes focusing on something in the distance. What is it? Hannah asked. Smoke. Not from weapons fire. Cooking fires. Take pointed to a valley several kilometers ahead. A Vraxian forward camp. Hannah studied the area through her goggles. We need to go around. Add 5 kilometers to our journey. Take looked at the alternative route, a treacherous mountain path that would be difficult for him in his condition. Without complaint, he adjusted his harness. Then we better start climbing. The path grew steeper. Several times, Take nearly fell, saved only by Hannah's quick reflexes. By the time dawn approached, they had only covered half the distance they'd planned. We need to find shelter, Hannah said, scanning the rocky terrain. There. Take pointed to a narrow crevice in the cliff face. It will hide our heat signatures. As they squeezed into the tight space, Take suddenly grabbed Hannah's arm. Listen. In the distance, they could hear the distinctive whine of Vraxian dropships descending toward their previous position. They found the settlement, Hannah whispered. Your engineer friend. I know. Hannah's face hardened. All the more reason to reach that research station. We need to warn anyone still there. The research station appeared suddenly through the morning mist, a collection of low concrete buildings nestled against the mountainside. Take and Hannah approached cautiously, watching for any sign of Vraxian forces. 3 difficult days of travel had taken their toll. Take's wound had stopped healing, the edges turning purple again despite Hannah's treatments. Each step required tremendous effort. Looks abandoned, Hannah whispered as they crouched behind a ridge overlooking the facility. Take shook his head. Look. Southeast building. Movement behind the windows. Hannah adjusted her scope. You're right. But human or Vraxian? Only one way to find out. They approached the southeast building slowly, using the abandoned vehicles for cover. Halfway across the open area, floodlights suddenly blazed to life, blinding them. Don't move, a voice commanded through speakers. Identify yourselves. Medical Officer Hannah, 7th Division, Hannah called out, raising her hands. With wounded Centurion ally. Seeking medical assistance. A tense moment passed before the lights dimmed slightly. A metal door slid open. Approach slowly. Any weapons, place them on the ground. Inside, they found 6 humans in tattered military uniforms, weapons trained on them. Their leader, a tall man with a scar across his left cheek, introduced himself as Medic June. We thought you were Vraxian scouts, he explained, lowering his rifle. They've been probing our defenses for days. The facility had once been a research station studying local plant life. Now it served as a makeshift hospital and resistance base. 15 wounded soldiers, humans, Pelians, and even a Morkian rested on beds made from lab tables. You have a regenerator? Hannah asked hopefully, helping Take to a chair. June nodded. Old model, but functional. In the main lab. Hannah quickly explained Take's condition. The Vraxian bioweapon was designed to target Centurion's cellular regeneration, making natural healing impossible. We've never treated a Centurion before, June admitted, examining Take's wound. I have xenobiology training, Hannah replied. With your equipment and my knowledge, we might save him. June hesitated. Our power reserves are limited. The regenerator uses considerable energy. He's worth it, Hannah insisted. Trust me. While June prepared the regenerator, Hannah helped remove his damaged armor. As she lifted the chest plate, something fell to the floor with a metallic clang. What's this? She asked, picking up a small crystal device embedded in the armor's inner lining. Take looked confused. I don't know. Not standard issue. Hannah handed the device to June, who plugged it into a portable scanner. His eyes widened. This is a Vraxian data crystal, he said in disbelief. Contains detailed schematics of their planetary defense systems. Command codes. Weakness analyses. He looked at Take. How did you get this? I didn't know it was there, Take insisted, his four eyes blinking in confusion. My armor was repaired after an earlier battle. Perhaps then? Someone used you as an unwitting courier, June concluded. This information could turn the war in our favor. As they prepared to use the regenerator on Take, an alarm blared through the facility. One of the resistance fighters burst into the lab. Centurion dropship approaching. Armed and ready to deploy. June's face hardened. Did they track you here? Before Take could answer, the building shook as the Centurion ship landed outside. Through the windows, they watched as 6 heavily armed Centurion Special Forces soldiers disembarked. That's Krev's unit, Take whispered, recognizing the distinctive armor markings. Elite cleaners. The Centurion soldiers entered the facility without resistance, directed to the lab by nervous resistance fighters. Their leader, Commander Krev, stepped forward, his 4 arms each holding different weapons. Step aside, humans, Krev demanded, his translator making his voice sound metallic. We have come for the wounded one. Hannah moved between Krev and Take. He's my patient. He needs medical attention. He needs silence, Krev replied coldly. He carries sensitive information. Protocol demands elimination of all security risks. You mean execute him? Hannah's hand moved to her sidearm. He's one of your own. A wounded warrior is already dead, Krev stated. Centurion code. And this one has been compromised. The data crystal he carries must not fall into enemy hands. Too late, June said, holding up the scanner displaying the crystal's contents. We already know what it contains. Information that could end this war. Krev's posture changed subtly. Then you understand why none of you can leave this facility alive. Outside, new alarms began to sound. A resistance fighter rushed into the room. Vraxian forces approaching from the south. Multiple units. Krev turned to his squad, then back to the humans and Take. The situation had changed instantly. It seems, Krev said slowly, that we have a common enemy at our door. Take struggled to stand. Commander, these humans saved my life when our own people abandoned me. And they've discovered information that could save countless more lives. Krev studied Take for a long moment. The High Command will decide what to do with all of you if we survive the coming attack. The regenerator hummed with power as Hannah made final adjustments to its settings. Outside, the combined forces of humans and Centurions prepared defenses against the approaching Vraxian troops. Commander Krev had reluctantly agreed to delay judgment until after the immediate threat was dealt with. This will either heal you or kill you, Hannah told Take honestly as she connected the final leads to his wounded side. The machine wasn't designed for Centurion physiology. Take's 4 eyes blinked slowly. I trust you, human. June monitored power levels from a nearby console. We have 7 minutes of generator power at most. After that, we're in darkness. 7 minutes will have to be enough, Hannah replied, activating the sequence. Blue-white energy flowed into Take's body. He convulsed once, then went still as the machine worked to counteract the Vraxian toxins and regenerate damaged tissue. Hannah watched anxiously as cellular readings fluctuated wildly on the monitor. The first explosion hit as the regeneration reached its halfway point. The building shook, dust raining from the ceiling. They breached the outer perimeter, someone shouted from the corridor. Commander Krev appeared in the doorway. How much longer? 3 minutes, Hannah answered without looking up from the monitors. We can't stop now or he dies. Krev hesitated, then nodded. My squad will hold them off. Protect the data crystal at all costs. The sounds of battle grew closer, the high-pitched whine of Raxian weapons contrasting with the deeper thump of Centurion pulse rifles. Human voices shouted commands and warnings. At exactly the moment the regenerator completed its cycle, the power failed. Emergency lights bathed the room in red. Hannah disconnected the leads from Take's now-healed side, uncertain if the procedure had finished in time. For a terrible moment, he didn't move. Then his eyes opened, all four blinking in sequence. Did it work? He asked. In answer, Hannah handed him his pulse rifle. Let's find out. Take rose from the table steadily, testing his healed side. No pain, no weakness. He moved his previously injured arm with new confidence. You have done the impossible, human. A massive explosion rocked the building's foundation. June grabbed the data crystal and its scanner. We need to move. Now. They emerged into chaos. The main defense line had collapsed, with Raxian shock troops pouring into the compound. Commander Krev and his remaining soldiers were falling back toward the landing pad where their dropship waited. This way. June led them toward a side exit. A Vraxian breacher team suddenly appeared, cutting off their escape. The insectoid soldiers chittered in excitement at finding prey. Take pushed Hannah behind him and opened fire with perfect precision. 3 Vraxians fell immediately. I can fight again, he said, a note of wonder in his voice. Together, they fought their way toward the landing pad, Take and the humans protecting June and the precious data crystal. At the pad, Commander Krev was surprised to see Take not only alive but fighting with renewed strength. Impossible, Krev muttered as Take eliminated 2 more Vraxians with efficient shots. The human medic made it possible, Take replied, reloading his weapon. Now we must get her and the data off this planet. Krev hesitated only briefly before nodding. All units, cover their retreat. As they boarded the Centurion dropship, a final wave of Vraxians swarmed the landing pad. Hannah was the last to enter, turning to provide covering fire for a wounded human soldier. A Vraxian projectile struck her in the shoulder, spinning her around. Before she could fall, Take grabbed her with 2 arms, firing with his other 2. He pulled her into the ship as the doors sealed behind them. Now we're even, he said as the ship lifted off, Vraxian weapons fire pinging harmlessly off its armored hull. 3 months later, on the Allied command carrier orbiting Kepler-4, Take stood before the Centurion High Command. His formal uniform bore a new insignia, a red cross inside a circle of Centurion script. The human medical philosophy saved not only my life but provided intelligence that turned the tide of battle in the Kepler system, he stated. I formally propose establishing the first Centurion Medical Corps. Murmurs spread through the assembled officers. Such a concept violated centuries of warrior tradition. Warriors who cannot fight are already dead, an elder commander objected. This is our way. Our way has cost us many skilled soldiers, Take countered. Warriors who could have returned to battle, as I did. From the side of the chamber, Hannah watched in her dress uniform, now bearing the rank of Chief Medical Instructor. Beside her stood Commander Krev, whose own experience had changed his views. The High Commander rose slowly. The war against the Vraxians requires new thinking. Your proposal is approved, Corporal Take. Later, as Take and Hannah walked through the training facility where the first class of Centurion combat medics waited, he paused. My people have fought in 17 wars across 7 systems, he said. But we never understood that saving lives could be as important as taking them. Hannah smiled. Sometimes it takes an outsider to help you see your own potential. As they entered the training room, 12 Centurion cadets stood at attention, each with the new medical insignia on their uniforms. Today, Take announced to the first Centurion medics in history, we learn that abandoning the wounded is not our only way. Today, we learn to heal.